So very, very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Amanda Jenkins and I shall be your presenter this morning. We are going to look at some slings that we've successfully used for more challenging scenarios. So I've got a selection, but I do encourage chat. So if you've got any scenarios you want to go through, please talk to us. We want to make the session as helpful to you guys as much as possible. So please do chat to me. I'm going to start with introducing my colleague Judith, who looks after lots of contracts and schools and hospitals. So you might have spoken to Jude, but she will help during the session. But I'm going to start with looking at an in situ sling, which is one of our most popular. You may have seen this if you've joined us before, but it's a great shape to meet the needs of more challenging situations. Before I carry on though, everything we talk about will be detailed on the website. So a full library of information is available for you. So you haven't got to remember everything, of course. But my colleague Rhiannon is just going to bring up the information regarding this product. So just to give you an example of what is available after the session. And this one, as I said, is in the in situ section. But it will give you lots of helpful data, very good photographs so you can see it on a person, each angle, so to show you support, access, things like that. All the bullet points there are points regarding the product, fabric options. There's also a data sheet which gives you everything. So this is, you can download, print this off. So it will give you lots of helpful advice on sizing, where to measure, codes for ordering, safe working loads for each of the fabrics. So quite useful if this is a possible product that you're interested in. And then also there's sizing guides that you can is there a sizing guide on that one?
Yes, the sizing guide. So there's two. So you've got body measurements.
No, it's a separate sheet. I'm thinking
on the same.
No,
sheet.
okay, the separate sheet. No, it's all in one now.
All in one.
And then there's instructions of use. So lots of helpful data and codes, instructional video. So really good to help you post this session. So looking at this style, of course, I'm going to put it on Judith, who's very able-bodied. It's going to make it look really easy, but we'll talk about some of the scenarios that we've used this particular style for. It is a divided leg sling, so if you're putting it on in a chair, ensure that the base of the sling goes as low as possible here. It's very important when putting slings on to get the sling low, as far down as possible, so that the leg sections come around towards the back of the knee. Always position them as low as you can, whether it's in a chair or on a bed, so that we start with it really low. It will naturally adjust when you hoist, but if you start with the leg paddles too high up, then it's going to ride up into the groin straight away. So key thing is to get those leg paddles low. This particular style has two individual leg paddles that wrap around each femur and then connect together with this modesty strap here. And then you take the outside tape and feed it through. So you're getting an outside pickup here, which is really helpful. And I will explain that. I'm just going to use this hoist just to it up. If we just hook up short shoulder, long leg, just take it down a bit. Just to start with, managed, Jude? Okay, great. So short shoulder, long leg. It's got head support as well, which we'll explain. Just going to take up the slack. That head support's not on yet. There we go. So just put head support on there. There's another tape here, which I'll explain in a moment. But just taking up the slack before we go too far, just check that we've got it in the right place. The leg sections are still low down. Then we've got the chair caught up. So looking at the style, let's talk about the style. It's full body with full paddles to the leg there. Just turn Judith round. This is in one of the in situ leave-in fabrics. There are several. This is the superfine, which is the lightweight mesh that has some stretch, two-way stretch, which allows it to hug around the curvatures of the body. So really good shape if it's being left in place. There is a little bit of access. So if hygiene needs to be carried out, then it is possible with this style. So that's the benefit of having the divided leg like this because of the hygiene there. Full head support. The head support has got adjustable tapes here. So if you put your head back, then you can adjust the tape. Either hook up the head support directly to the hoist or thread it through the shoulder loop and then back through this adjuster so that then it reduces another loop to be hooked up. So a bit easier for carers. There are bones in the back here. These can be removed. You put your head back, Jude. If the bones are removed, then it will naturally find the contours of the body there. Some people take them out because they're too stiff. Others prefer them because it gives that extra bit of support. But the choice is there. They need to be taken out when laundering though, because they'll just bend. But looking at the shape and the benefits of this. So Judith was a bit wriggly, but she's very good at being wriggly. Individual leg paddles will control a wriggler because you're supporting each femur fully. So compared to a standard shape, this deluxe leg shape will do that. So it's very good for wrigglers. It's very good to adjust the legs if you've got an asymmetrical shape. So windswept hips, asymmetrical, significant curvature, and the legs will naturally adjust. It's a very good design for that. And because these leg paddles are picked up from the outside, then it supports the hip and the leg better than if you have a leg section that comes through the middle. As if the leg tapes are coming through the middle and up to the waist, they can naturally slightly pull through and then externally rotate the hip. Whereas with an outside leg pickup, you don't get that. So much better for anyone that's got painful joints, arthritis, osteoporosis, because you're getting more support from the outside. So it's a really good feature with this shape. Particularly if we add another tape here. So this is a hip tape. It is detachable. So you can request the hip tape to be detachable or fixed. Comes on a slider. This slider just is adjusted to the optimum position, which I'll explain. But it loops on and you feed it back on itself. And then you have to set the slider to pick up the leg section, the same tension, or the hip section, the same tension as the leg. At the minute, it's not doing anything, it's loose. So you need to set the tension so it picks up simultaneously with the leg. If it's too tight, it's going to force the hips up. So we need to lower Judith down and adjust that. But what it will do with the right tension, it will lift the hip very subtly, but it makes a massive difference if you have someone whose hips are sinking. Putting a tape there, it will lift and distribute the weight, take pressure from the knee, and make it much more comfortable for anyone that does experience significant hip or knee pain. So a hip tape is a real help. It's also really useful if you have someone that's very asymmetrical. So if they have a significant curvature and they're leaning, you can adjust the tapes asymmetrically. So it's picking up one side slightly shorter, just to give you a more symmetrical transferring position. It's very adjustable. It's solved lots of scenarios, this shape, pediatrics particularly. challenging, really significant shaping, and still allowing the toileting. So it's a really useful one. Have a look at the website for the in situ deluxe, particularly with the hip tapes. Sizing on there will give you a standard size guide where we ask for a shoulder circumference. So the shoulder circumference is literally around the shoulders, at the just down from the shoulder, top of the shoulders where it's a bit wider, right round the circumference there. Important to measure in a really good midline upright position, not all curled and curved, because that will change the measurement. And then the other measurement is top crown of the head here, crown to the base of spine. Base of spine just at the top, knobbly bit, top of the bottom there. So those two measurements will either lead you to a standard size, or if you have someone with disproportionate measurements, then talk to us and we can help size. But the measurement, the fabric of this particular superfine has a bit of give, so it will help with stretching. Do we have any questions? So if you're leaving this in, so if it's being left in, then of course there's going to be the worry of the aperture. So you need to assess. Leaving products in is really down to the individual. It's a very difficult question to say, yes, it's suitable. We don't know. So it's very much independent and down to your risk assessment. But we make tens of thousands of these and we know that they are appropriate in the right place. But often we would suggest that the leg sections are we'll just take the leg sections away and clip the apes. If it's left in and there's room, then just gently take the leg paddles to the side. They've got this slip bit to both sides, so they will ease out very smoothly and they can be positioned to the sides. That's then reducing seams and anything under that patient. So it's often, if possible, a good idea. Right, we're good. Okay, so on this theme, so the nice deluxe shaped legs, there is another option for someone that's quite active and challenging, and that's the balance sling. So it's a very similar shape. It has the nice paddle legs that wrap around the femur as we've just shown you, but it has this counterbalance. So this then is often easier for carers because they've only got one loop to hook up. They haven't got to worry about, which loop to put on, but it will allow movement. So if you've got someone that is active, this counterbalance strap allows that. So it's quite straightforward. The disadvantage with this is that you can't often get a good upright position because you've only got one setting. So we'll find the optimum pickup there. Although allow movement, you can't then sit up properly because you haven't got the individual loops. So again, it will have its place, but it's good for active wrigglers, allowing that movement if needed. It tends to be in this fabric, which is the spacer, the black Superfine Plus, which is a three-dimensional spacer mesh. So it will compress down, but it's generally in that fabric. Again, look on the website if you think that this could be an option. We call it the balance, silver balance sling. Good. So those are the two deluxes. I just wanted to show those. Thanks, Jude. But the other one, if we're looking at wanting to leave the sling in, but we don't want the aperture, we want it smooth, but we've got someone that perhaps is a bit more wriggly, then we've got a combined sling here, which is quite new to Silvalea, called the Recline Deluxe. And it's an all-in-one, but with the paddle legs. So quite a mixture. This one you'd probably have to put on the bed because it fits very smoothly right underneath the bottom. And then these paddles, little paddles wrap around the femurs here. So it's quite tricky to get on in the chair because it goes right under the bottom. So it's a bit of a mixture between the recline, which is the oblong shape, and the deluxe, which we've seen. So putting it on the bed, and then the leg panels will still connect them together, but ensure that they are towards the back of the knee. If we just hook this up, we can show you. So if we go on green, this one has got slightly different tapes, which I will explain, and it's got a blue. A hip tape as standard. Red. Peach red. All colour coding. It's a good colour coding. Next Jude. But again, we'll just take up the slack just before we go too far, just to make sure we've got everything on. Okay. So this is a bit like a seat. So it's wrapping around the body. Very smooth. There's no aperture with this. So if you were worried about leaving a product in that's got the aperture, this one doesn't. So with that though, you can't toilet. But it is very smooth. Generally in this black spacer, the Superfine Plus, can have a head support. This one doesn't, but the options are there. But we've got the good paddles. So paddles are really good for a regular, someone that's regular, that's active, that's, maybe has some challenging spasms, things like that. And with the natural hip tapers here as well, it's helping to distribute the weight. It's incredibly comfortable, this one. And certainly I know you'll feel very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
So it's worth looking at and considering if you need something for leaving in, a little bit more active. Have a look at the Recline Deluxe. The tapes on this, as standard, they come with the safety slot tape. So it's a silver safety slot tape. There's information on the website to help you understand the concept, but they are slots. They work exactly the same as a loop, but in many ways they're more beneficial because you haven't got dangling loops. If you're leaving the product in, they're very smooth and streamlined, and they do tuck away really well. We can have standard loops, not a problem, but they will. I think this start as a standard will come with the slot. They are attached. Just going to take off the left couple of them a bit. They're attached to the sling by a very clever little loop that naturally finds the direction of the hoist, so there's no non-directional pulling. And because they're so streamlined, they will fold up neatly and just tuck away. They're very strong. There's no issue of strength or safety. They're colour coded in the same way. If they're dangling as well, you don't get them all caught up. Loops don't get caught up, hands and things like that. The wheelchair will roll over. Hoists will roll over. So, lots of pluses with that. They just looked a little bit different, and often people don't like that. So if you're not sure, then just request the standard loops. So that was the Recline Deluxe. Any questions on that one, Ray? Everyone's very quiet. Okay. Right, let's have a look at another one. We've only got a couple more, so just wondering how long the session is. But I'm going to show you now an option for toileting when you're faced with something more challenging, someone that's very active or has reduced tone. Then we do have this option, which is called the Easy Access It's the Continental Easy Access. It's part of our Continental range. Oh, you have a question?
With the Recline Deluxe, can you roll it out of the way to allow for toileting?
Not when you, not when you're hoisting. So because it comes right under the bottom here, it may be tricky. You'd have to try. There could be some techniques that you might be successful, but I don't think I've heard of anyone use it for toileting. So it would perhaps need to be trialed and checked. I'm not saying it's not possible, because often things are, with clever techniques can be done. But have you heard of anyone use it?
No, you need something with a bit more aperture.
Yes,
Really don't.
because it comes right under here, and
Right
the
under the
aperture, if you can visualize it, is literally just here between my thighs to get the paddles round. So they would be very limited. I guess you then need the deluxe shape.
Yeah.
If you need that to insert that for your hygiene transfer. But have a go, certainly have a go. But going back to the easy access, so the easy access is part of we've got a few slings in this particular family, which are made in a different way. They're quite structured. They're continental slings. They're based on comparables for continental manufacturers, and they like the robust structured fabric, and often they'll have foam in. So foam in sections that really do give a lot more support. So this one does have complete foam throughout, so it's quite rigid to give extra support. So we're looking at a situation where someone has got reduced tone, maybe they're a bit active. So we're going to try and support them, but allow lots of access for hygiene. So if we put this on Jude, it's easy to put on, to be fair, because you're not getting very far. You're only going to the belt line. We're not trying to struggle to get it down. But of course, Jude's going to make it look easier. But the thoracic section wraps around the body and then crosses over like that with these tapes. So we've got two thoracic tapes there. There we go. The leg sections have foam in, so they can be inserted easier because they're firm, and because natural sheen on the fabric, they slide in really easily. But again, make sure you start with the sling towards the back of the knee with those leg paddles to make sure we've got it low enough. The trunk section here will naturally wrap round Judith. It's going to fit very firmly, so we've got lots of options of loops. And then the last section is the head support, which has got the counterbalance. So we looked at the counterbalance on the balancing. This will have the same principle, so allow movement. So a bit more fiddly, but there's three sections there: legs, thoracic, and the shoulders. So if we look up, okay. If you've only got a 2-point hoist like this one, make sure the last shoulder counterbalance goes on last, so that it will, if you've got a wriggler, it will allow the movement. It won't get caught up under the others. It will flow naturally on the top. If you've got a 2-point or 3-point, then you've got more options. But on this 2-point, don't get it tucked underneath. So as we take up the slack, it's going to wrap really firmly around Judith. Brace yourself. So the thing is, it's going to give that support to someone who has got reduced tone. So it's going to fit firm. If it's too firm, then of course, we wouldn't use it. Okay. Upright, aren't we? You right? Yeah.
Quite upright.
Quite upright. I think, we might recline slightly in a minute,
Yeah.
but if we look at it, we can see great access. So still to the belt line there. Lots of really good support here. Do push your head back. If you try and stretch out now, you know, it's going to allow that movement there. You bring your knees up to your chest. So she's not going to bottom out, you know, she's
It's
not,
very secure.
it's very secure.
Yes.
It's
Not a lot of movement.
No. So it's all the features allowing that. So if you think about someone that has got lots of movement, but it will have to fit firm. If it's not fitting firm, you're likely to slump through it. Can you just slump completely? You can't.
There's no way to make go.
You can't bottom out.
Go. No. No, it's very secure around that track.
I wanted to just recline you a little bit.
Yes, okay.
If you think about, you know, really an active person, I might just change the leg up to the on the yellow and the green. I'm going to just going to extend this counterbalance a little bit. There are markers on here to give you a bit more flexibility of reclining. But the marker's there just to give you a guide, and then you can just position it as you find the optimum pick up position. That's a bit better.
That's better. Recline.
So a little bit more comfortable. But again, if Judith was active, you can see.
Oh, yeah.
Can you watch back with that?
No.
So it's a great style, and as I said, it's really good for wrigglers. The downside is it's going to fit firmly. So think about if anyone has got a big tummy or they don't like the restriction around here, then it might not be suitable. Anyone that's quite shapely, it might bite in around here because it is very firm. So, you know, there's pros and cons with it, but very successful for youngsters, slender, athetoid, CP type scenarios, still wanting to have good access for toileting. It's been a great style. So have a look at the website there. There's some really good photos on there actually showing the extension. It's in the standard section under the easy access, which will help you with further images. Have you got any questions, Ree? Okay. So the last style, hopefully you're all still with me, is a sling that we've used for quite challenging hoisting. And we were faced with a scenario where we had an escape artist who escaped out of everything. So we came up with a design that works very well and has subsequently worked for the most extreme situations. And you wrap it around the body, so it's like a proper little harness type sling that wraps around. The features are quite clever. So what we were faced with was somebody that was like this, extended like this. So what they did was we came up with a design that helped to keep the head forward, protracted the shoulders, and lock the hips and knees flex like that. So all those features on the sling help to prevent that. It still allows the movement, but it just kept them contained. So these features help with that. So we'll show you. Was there a question there, Ree?
Yeah, someone's got their hand up.
Okay, got a hand up.
Thank you. Hi, thank you.
Hi.
I was just going to ask, I've got someone and he tends to sort of lunge forwards when he wants to lunge. So I've been sort of I'm fairly new to children, so it feels logical to me to sort of lengthen the shoulder straps so that he's more reclined. But then obviously that makes it difficult to seat him in a nice upright position.
Okay, so you could, for safety, just hoist him reclined. If you can lower him down, then shorten the shoulders to pull him back. It may be like you're doing a double type of positioning, or do you have a chair that would recline?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could try reclining that. So perhaps it's more to do with the technique, really, isn't it?
Yes, I think, often you've got to weigh all the issues up and try and come to a balanced decision. And sometimes you can, if you've got a reclined chair and he's reclined, recline him into that reclined chair and then sit him up. Or I've known people put them in and then just leave the legs on, shorten the shoulder, and it just pulls them back. Or there's a way with slide sheets.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a slide sheet in, and if you've got a carer or two, then you can slide him back.
Fantastic,
So,
that's helpful. I think unfortunately what mum tends to do, because it's quick and easy, is just give him a little lift at the end, which kind of obviously then defeats the object of the hoist. But we can try that. Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Were there any more, Ree? Okay. So the Tinkham then, let's think about this. This is the most challenging, and often you're going to have 2 or 3 carers, and it's probably better to put this on the bed. We're doing it in the chair, which we're cheating really. But it's got a divided leg. You can get it on in a chair, but the trunk section for positioning, which you can see is better on a bed, get that in place first. So then we know we've got it in the right place. Okay, thanks, Jude. So there's a little, comes around the thoracic section here. And then apply it like the normal sling. So leg paddles towards the back of the knee. This one is made generally in the black Superfine Plus, which is the spacer fabric, but it has the slip fit to both sides of the legs to help with inserting. Now we've got a modesty strap across the width of the leg to feed one leg through, and a modesty strap at the top. So we're doing everything we can to keep the legs together. There's 2 modesty straps there. So that's the legs. There are 2 sets of hip tapes. So we talked about the benefit of the hip tapes earlier. So we've got 2. We've got a lower one here and a hip one. Often you may have to have the one towards the knee slightly shorter, so it keeps that leg flexed. If it's too long, it won't help. So keep that one slightly shorter. So you may have to adjust the tapes a little bit to keep the legs flexed like that. It's really helpful to have the hip tapes there. And then working up, we've got the shoulder strap. That wraps around the shoulders. And then we've got a head. So lots going on, but building it slowly from one end or the other. I tend to go from the bottom up in a demo.
Someone else has got their hand up here.
Okay. Sorry, is it? It's Stacey. Stacey, have you got a question?
Hi, do you have to have the hip tapes on these slings?
No. No, they will come as standard. One of them is detachable and one of them's fixed. If you don't want the lower one, unhook it.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't want either, then tell us before manufacture. Because if you've experienced it without and you don't feel they're necessary or there's too much going on, then please say, but we'd have to know before manufacture because they come as standard with a fixed upper one and a detachable lower one on this style. But building it from the bottom, so we go a shortish leg, we'll go on green to keep the hips short or the leg section short. The hip tapes, we'll put them on, and if they need adjusting, they may do.
Yeah.
And then we're going up to the shoulders, which I'll put on red. And I'll leave the head for a moment. I'll put the head section on in a moment.
Okay.
You all right? So just take up the slack just so that we can check we've got the right tension. So the tension of the hips, that one's a bit loose, isn't it? Go down a little bit. Once you've got the settings though, you'll be all right. You won't need to adjust them. Just trying to. Okay. Right. Let's just talk about it a moment and then have a look. So we've got the leg sections here through both modesties and up here. This sling will also come with those safety slots that we talked about earlier. As a standard, they're much easier to control than all these loops. So the safety slot tapes will be provided as standard on this style. We call it the Tinkham. So it's the Tinkham sling, named after a youngster who went to Tinkham School. So it's the Tinkham. So it will come with the slots, just so that you know. There is also a very good video online, so have a look just to remind you later. 2 sets of hip tapes Jude here. And then we've got the shoulder here that's pulling the shoulders around to help retract the shoulder area. And then this head support. Now you may not need the head support. We have done them without. Again, we need to know before, but the head support will help to lock that head forward like that and prevent it from thrashing back. So if I put it on the shortest loop there, which is the red one, I'm going to lock Jude's head really far forward. But there are little pockets here. You put your head through here. They're little pockets, elasticated ones, for anyone that tries to hook out. It just closes that up. So you can see in principle what's happening. The fabric is the spacer, which has got a little bit of give, so it will naturally stretch around the body, but there's plenty of access also for hygiene. But if Judith wants to have a good old wiggle and twist, and she's very good at that. So you can see it will keep someone in. We want to try and just push around like that. Twist. Thank you. That's your exercise for the day. So, thank you. Brilliant. Well done, you. So you can see it will contain Jude being that active. So putting it into scenarios that you think that you have similar to that, then it's potentially an idea to try. Sizing is quite tricky. So there is a standard guide, but for this to be so successful, it's best tailor-made to that individual, because you need to get it absolutely spot on with the length, the width, to help with the most difficult situations. Otherwise, it will work. You might bottom out, you find it doesn't support. And it is a bit of trial and error with getting these tapes set in the right place to make sure that they are locking the hips and they're producing the right tension for each area. So it's a case of playing with it. But I have to say that we have been very successful with the most challenging of scenarios with this style. We linked up to New Zealand a few years ago. They had a very, very challenging scenario with a youngster who had to keep their head in a certain position. It couldn't go back, otherwise they cut their airways off. We managed to sort of go through with them, measure together, provide one, and it worked perfectly. So it was a really good success for that particular scenario. So we know it's got its place, but we know it's quite complicated. But we're always here. We are always here to link up, do lots of online link ups like this, e-assessments. We can demonstrate, we can help you with trying to recreate scenarios. So please, if you do have a situation, Jude, that you're not sure of, just contact us. But those were the things I wanted to cover today. Do we have any questions?
Oh, there's one, sorry.
Okay.
Jane?
Thank you. Can I just ask how the online assessments work? So what do you do? You could do a video link, kind of like a WhatsApp video or something, do you mean?
It tends to be through Teams, and it's like this, just like this. So we're here, you're there with your patient, we link up, we have a look at the situation, we help you with measuring, we advise, we can see if there's something that doesn't look right. We could then suggest, actually, let's what about this?
Yeah.
Try this. If we know roughly the size of your patient, we could see if there's anything in our trial kit. Once we've established the style and the size, we can then provide you with a trial.
Brilliant.
So
That's fantastic.
It does work very well, and it's quicker than waiting for an assessor.
Yes.
We don't have the luxury of having assessors all over the country, so we found that this way of helping works very well, and it's less intrusive for your patient as well. So you just need to email in to our customer services, and we'll sort of try and help from there.
Lovely, thank you. And is that a chargeable service? Do you mind me asking? No. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody else? No, very quiet. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. I hope it's been helpful. We will send out a feedback form. It's always, really good for us to have feedback. And any of your comments are very welcome. But we do have other sessions planned. Please have a look at the prospectus. And certainly we look forward to seeing you in the future. We will be at the OT show if anyone is able to go. The OT show at the end of November will be there. So please come and say hello. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you for Rhiannon and for Judith.
Thank you.
Thank you.